So I have this old glove of mine, and I thought, hey, there's something about this glove that might just be able to help you form your chords much more effectively than perhaps you're currently doing. Intrigued? It's an interesting prop, don't you think? We're going to talk about that coming up next. So here's my glove. Nothing fancy, it's just a regular winter glove. And thank goodness where I am, the spring is starting to set in, so we're all happy. But I wanted to talk to you briefly about a procedure that, or a way of thinking, and I guess a procedure that might just help you understand how you should be forming your chords. And of course, we all know that making chords and ultimately changing chords is probably one of the most significant challenges at the front end of learning a guitar. And there's really something wrong with the way us teachers have, I think, traditionally been teaching it. So I want to go into that a little bit with you. We'll get some close-ups of me on the guitar, and I'll see you just on the other side. So just before I get onto the guitar here, I want to show you what occurred to me only about a week and a half ago, actually, about how this glove could actually make you or help you think about the way we should be learning to form chords. So let me show you. I'm going to demonstrate right now very quickly. I'm going to just simply take my hand and put it into the glove. There, I did it. That's it. That's all there is to it. I'll do it again in case you missed that. There's my hand, there's the glove, I put it in, boom, it's done. Did you catch it? Did you notice what I had to do in order to get the hand into the glove? Let's do it slow motion. Here comes my hand, there's the glove. Watch the hand, don't worry about the glove. And this is automatic. So the hand comes close to the glove, fingers come together, hand goes in. Once the hand is in and in place, you can open up your hand again and you're ready to do whatever you need to do. So what's the point here, Stephen? Well, the point is simply this. We all know that making chords, in the process of making chords, we can end up practicing certain procedures that ultimately down the road may end up sabotaging your ability to make them well, unless somebody steps in and says, now you have to pay attention to this. So, what's going on here? The bottom line is, if you really paid attention to what my hand was doing, in order for it to get into the glove, it had to change its shape, didn't it? I'll give you, it's not a hard thing to do, just to close the fingers, but the principle remains the same. You had to change the shape to get the hand in, and then of course you're good to go. If you don't change the shape and you just bring your hand to the glove, you're forced to make the shape change if you want the hand in there. Otherwise, it's not going in. If you decide you're going to stay this way, it's not going to go in. It's going to be too hard, right? So, enough of the glove. You get the point. The same thing really, excuse me, the same thing really has to happen when you form a chord. Now, I've probably got the chord up here on the screen somewhere. I'm going to start with that chord, and we're going to look at the traditional way that people come to learn to play chords, and then, or to build them, and then I want to show you an alternative approach, some suggestions to help you learn to make a chord so quickly that when you go to change, the chord's already in place, which is what we're struggling with. A lot of people struggle with this. So let's cut to the guitar and we'll take a look at the chord. Okay, so here we are, all set to look at this hand and how it makes chords. We don't need to worry about this hand, so I'll be out of the screen there, out of the frame. So if you look carefully, and I have an image up here somewhere on the screen, it's probably right there, that has a very familiar chord to you, just a plain old A major chord. Just looks like this. Sounds like that and looks like that. So clearly, I have the first finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret, second finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, third finger on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. Everything's jammed in there, and I know that feels weird. And I'm strumming, if I do show you here, 5 strings. I'm eliminating the 6th string, okay? That's pretty traditional. Now, the problem is when somebody's presented with a chord for the first time, their brain naturally, according to that image, I think it's there, according to that image, your brain goes and does this. It says, okay, Stephen, according to the image, take your first finger, put it on the 4th string, 2nd fret. So you do that. And same with the 2nd finger, put it on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and then finally, 3rd finger, 2nd string, 2nd fret. And just a reminder to all of those guitarists out there that only see strings and frets, the reason this chord is that shape is not because somebody woke up one day and just invented a shape and said, behold, this is an A chord. It's an A chord or an A major chord because of the notes that I'm playing. And very quickly, I have an A on the 3rd string, a C sharp on the 2nd string, and an E on the 4th string. I've got an A on the 5th string and another E on the 1st string. Really all I have are 3 notes, and I play them all. And by definition, which we can go into in another video, that's the reason it's called an A chord. It's not because of this shape. There's many different ways to play an A chord all over the fretboard, and that seems to elude a lot of players. Okay, back to the point. So what you've done now is you've gone through the diagram, you've put your fingers in place, which you have to do for a while in order to get a good feel for the landscape of the chord, where things are at. But you mustn't let that continue for too long, because you're teaching that to your brain, to your mind. And ultimately, how you practice is how you're going to play. So we have to be very careful here at the beginning stages of learning something fresh. This is true for any starting chords that you may be working with, or any new chord, excuse me, that you're being introduced to. What I would like to suggest to you is similar to what I had to do when I put my hand into the glove. I had to change its shape, if you recall. Here's my normal hand, everyday hand, but I had to bring everything together to get it in, find the finger holes, and then open it up, and I'm good to go. So the point there was that there had to be a change. We have to do the same thing here as well, and if we don't, that's where we run into trouble. Okay, let's take a peek at it. First finger there, 2nd finger here, 3rd finger there. People go and practice this. Weeks and months into it, their hand has gotten more and more used to doing this. No wonder they're having trouble changing chords, because this is how they're practicing it. What I'd like you to do instead, there's a number of strategies I use, but I want to point this one out for this video, is go ahead and make the chord, for sure. And you can see it from that angle a bit there too, and this angle. Go ahead and make the chord. Then what I'd like you to do is, because everybody's hand anatomy is slightly different, some fingers are larger, some fingers are skinny, some fingers are longer on different people. What I want you to do is to lift that shape off of the fretboard, probably just no more than 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch. So let me see if I can, that's about all you need. See that? Boom. Not much. Might look like I'm still touching strings right here, but right now, I'm off the strings. Now I'm on them. I want you to lift the chord off and hold that shape. Pose it. Now here's the hard part. As you're holding it, I want you to really pay attention to how it feels to hold that shape in your hand. To the extent that if you were to remove the hand from the fretboard, you could still maintain this shape. So I've just lifted away from the fretboard. I'm going to pull my hand away, and I'm going to show it to you. See that? There's the thumb in the back. Here's the chord part. Fingers are stuck together. I'm feeling that. I'm also feeling how much curve they have in order to produce that chord. And that feels different than making a D or a C or a G or a B minor or an E. They all feel different. Critical point, and I don't think this gets discussed often enough. Because it's that feel, and this is the important part, it's that feel that you want your brain to learn to teach your hand. So that when you're thinking of an A chord and you come up to the fretboard, the shape of it starts to take place or mold itself into the hand just before you settle the fingers down. As opposed to coming up and then again just rehearsing, putting the fingers down one at a time for various chords. It's a nasty habit. You don't see piano players doing that, by the way. You know, they reach for the chord because they can see the notes, and they mold their hand to those notes, and then they play. And then they release, and they go to another chord, and they change the shape, and they release, and then they play. Why aren't we doing that? Because it doesn't get talked about very much. And the people that, of course, play quite well, they're doing this whether they realize it or not. They're doing it, obviously. So we want to get to that place as well. It's true. I'll give you this. I mean, if you practice the onefingeritis, as I call it, enough, you'll probably end up being able to make the chords relatively quickly over a certain period of time, for sure. But why train that way when you can train it the right way from the beginning and simply continue to repeat that process as you get faster and more efficient and whatnot? In other words, you're not going to accept a less effective practice strategy for a really long time only to have to come back and basically erase it so you can come up with a better strategy. Why don't you just simply do the best strategy from the beginning? Well, the reason is simple. For most people, the best strategy for anything usually takes more time. And in a world where we want things real fast, this just doesn't cut it in guitar world. You need to take some time to get things right. The C chord is even a better example. If you just go ahead and mold it, and there you can see I'm on the strings. If I just simply release a bit, I know I'm out of frame a bit, right there I've just released, and again hold that shape in your hand. You see it against my shirt, it's a little easier to see, right? So much so that I could come back in and everything just falls back in place again. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen today, but give yourself a month of practicing this and your brain starts to go, oh, I see. That's what he wants me to do. So now when I go from an A to a C, my brain is remembering this shape. It's not just remembering that I put this finger here, this finger here. It's remembering a shape. And when I say remembering, I'm talking about all, not only how it looks, but all the subtle feel that's going on in the hand, the tensions you feel in the palm or the angle of the wrist. They're all very subtle sensations, but they're all going to be different for each of these chords. Some of them even require your body to kind of distort a bit in order to get the chord. You have to lean into it a bit. Sorry that my face is coming into view there, right? So, the analogy here then between the glove and my hand is, in order to make a chord well and continue to practice it well, you have to mold it. You have to shape the chord before it's on the strings. It's going to be the way you're going to play in the long run. You might as well be practicing this from day one. In other words, when you look at a chord picture, don't just put the fingers down as the chord picture indicates. Stop for a moment. Imagine where the fingers go on that fretboard and see if you can organize them to reflect what the picture is showing you. I'm doing this on a C chord now. And then pay attention to how that feels. And then shake it out and then repeat it. A lot of curve with this finger, less curve here, less curve there. They take on this kind of angle across the fretboard, and you know, the pinky kind of goes along for the ride, sort of thing. That's how you're learning to make a chord. You have to train the hand to take on a shape before you grab the chord. It's exactly analogous to my hand having to change shape to get into the glove. You have to do something to accomplish that thing. And what we have to do is not put one finger down at a time when you're making chords, but train the hand, which is really the brain, to come down and make the shape of the chord before it touches any string. If you don't do that, every time you put a finger down, you're just using it as a crutch to get the next finger and the next finger. And it really doesn't take long for your mind to learn that process. And because you go home after the lesson and you keep repeating it, it gets better and better. And to be honest with you, you're just getting better and better at playing it badly and badly, if I can put it that way. Now again, I mean, if you do it long enough, chances are the one-fingeritis thing is going to settle itself out and you'll be on your way. But that can take quite a while, and in fact, if nobody has this discussion with you, you may not even know there's something you need to change to get better at this. So, that's my little lesson for today. It's all about teaching your mind, which is really your hand is a reflection of your mind, to pay attention to the shape of the chord, such that you could actually attempt to try to mold it or sculpt it kind of in space. This is just one of several strategies I'm going to be showing to you over the next few weeks, because if you want to play stuff, the mechanism by which those songs are going to sound good will depend upon how well you're changing chords. So this strategy is all about the step before you can change chords. Means you've got to be able to make the chord effectively, and many times you have to be able to make it quickly. Okay, so that gives you an idea about how you can sort of start to rethink the way you're going to be constructing chords. Try to get away from this habit of building them one finger at a time very quickly. Do that for a little while so you know the landscape of the chord, but very quickly start to treat these things as if what it's like to make a fist, what it feels like to make a fist. You don't, it's a bad analogy, but you don't really need to hit somebody with a fist to know how to make a fist. You should know how to make a fist anyway. You know, don't put your thumb in there like that. Don't bend your wrist anyway. Nice steady wrist. So if you had to, you had to. So you have to do this before you do that. Forget that analogy, but I put it out there anyway. You have to change the shape of your hand to get into a glove. You have to, you know, there's lots of examples like that where to do something, you have to alter something to be able to do it. No different. Excuse my voice, no different when you're making chords. So, the challenge now, over the next little while, will be to see, visualize, observe how you're making your chords. If you're doing them one finger at a time, because that's all you've done, this strategy will feel quite hard to do because it's new. But like anything that's new, with time and practice, it starts to feel better and better. If you're already doing this fine, then this is not an issue for you. This is just about establishing a solid framework for the physical action of building a chord. Again, piano players don't learn to put one finger down at a time. They're taught to see the notes. They think in terms of notes, by the way, and shape, but they're taught to see them. They look down upon the keyboard, and then they bring my hand up here. They look down upon the keyboard, and then they open the hand to where the notes are that they want to play, and then they push. And then leave that and go to another chord, and they find the notes, and they have to alter the hand a bit, and then they push. And that's what they do. And they've done it from day one. So why aren't we doing that? We should be doing that. We're completely able to do it. I will give you that in many ways the fretboard is a bit more gymnastic, physically gymnastic at times, than the keyboard is. There are aspects that are true about that. So, okay, that's just our reality. We chose the guitar, that's what we're working with. But give it a try. I'm going to say to you, give it about a month. You have to work on new ideas for a good 30 days. Research says 30 to 90 days. I'll give you the minimum. 30 days of daily workout with a new idea before you can even complain that it's not working for you. So give it a try, rethink how you're thinking about your chord construction, and make it work for you. Okay, thanks again, Steve Dempster, Dempster Guitar Studio. Until I talk to you again, take care. Bye.